Dzień dobry Państwu. Witamy bardzo serdecznie na naszej prezentacji na konferencji Azure Summit 2023. Ja nazywam się Tomasz Sochacki, jestem przedstawicielem firmy Trek2 Summit. Dzisiaj na naszej prezentacji mamy gościa specjalnego. To jest Itai Ben-Dror z firmy NetApp, który opowie na temat bardzo ciekawego narzędzia, które służy do optymalizacji chmury. Pokrótce właśnie tytuł naszej prezentacji to jest mniej kosztów, więcej chmury. Jest to pomysł, który mamy taki pomysł, żeby promować te rozwiązania tutaj w Polsce i właśnie o tym chcielibyśmy Państwu dzisiaj opowiedzieć. Pokrótce kilka informacji na temat firmy Trek2 Summit. Jesteśmy grupą ekspertów, którzy specjalizują się właśnie w projektach chmurowych, głównie w obszarze migracji do chmury, analizie potrzeb klientów związanych właśnie z migracją do chmury, ocenie środowiska przy późniejszej migracji do chmury, całe projekty związane z migracją do chmury, optymalizacją potem środowiska w chmurze. To, na co kładziemy nacisk duży przy takich projektach związanych z migracją do chmury, to jest optymalizacja kosztów chmury, bo wiadomo, że to jest dosyć ważny element związany z migracją do chmury. Kolejny obszar, w którym się specjalizujemy, to jest obszar cyberbezpieczeństwa. Tutaj głównie posiłkujemy się rozwiązaniami firmy Microsoft. Czwarty taki obszar, w którym działamy, to są wszystkiego rodzaju produkty związane z produktywnością, czyli Microsoft 365. Współpracujemy z takimi trzema głównymi vendorami. To jest firma Microsoft oczywiście, firma NetApp, o której dzisiaj właśnie będziemy w rozwiązaniach opowiadali Państwu, no i firma AWS jako drugi dostawca chmury. Jesteśmy również partnerem CSP, czyli jesteśmy w stanie Państwu dostarczyć licencje i oprogramowanie, które Państwo potrzebują. Po więcej informacji zapraszam na stronę naszą, Trek2 Summit. I zapraszam również do udziału w naszym konkursie na stronie naszej. Za wypełnioną ankietę przewidzieliśmy nagrody, natomiast oczywiście ankieta też jest po to, żeby zebrać informacje. Jeżeli Państwa ta nasza prezentacja zainteresuje i będą Państwo chcieli przetestować to rozwiązanie, o którym będziemy mówili właśnie, no to bardzo, bardzo serdecznie Państwa zapraszamy do zaznaczenia w tej ankiecie, że chcecie, żebyśmy się z Państwem skontaktowali. No bo rozwiązanie, tak jak na wstępie mówiłem, wydaje się bardzo ciekawe. Myślę, że warto jest o tym rozwiązaniu dowiedzieć się czegoś więcej właśnie na tej prezentacji, ale też również spróbować działań. Także z mojej strony to wszystko. From my side is everything done. You can start the presentation.
Thank you very much. And hello everyone, very happy to be here. My name is Itai Ben-Dror. I'm based out of Tel Aviv and I head the international partnerships and alliances for Spot by NetApp. Really here for you. So do feel free to post any questions you may have and and just follow up later, learn, ask, whatever you want. Hoping that you can see my screen.
Can you share? Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So today we've gathered here to speak about Spot by NetApp, what we do, and specifically on what we do on Azure, which is a very interesting and I think very unique value that we can bring to Azure users. But I want to start a few steps before that and give you a snapshot of our company, of how we see the cloud business. So Spot was acquired by NetApp about 3 years ago. We were an Israeli startup. NetApp was one of our customers and they acquired us. They were pretty happy with what they saw, and we kind of fit in nicely with the story of NetApp transitioning from a data center storage company to being a data-focused cloud company. And we have over 2,000 customers today running billions of hours of cloud compute, 700 employees in basically spread out around the world. And we're saving hundreds of millions of dollars for our customers on their public cloud cost. We're focusing on 100% on public cloud, and we're doing with automation hundreds of millions of dollars of savings for our happy customers. Since we've we've grown pretty nicely, we're getting good attention from the GigaOms, Gartners of the world. This is one of the examples. We're identified as the number one leader, the only outperformer in the cloud resource optimization space, in front of companies like IBM and VMware and Densify, and we're really market leaders in that sense when it comes to innovation in one side and maturity and platform on the other. So we're pretty proud about that. These are like Gartner themselves are one of our customers. So we really have a nice footprint. And if we're talking about customers, really everyone from the biggest enterprises in the world, like IBM, like Sony, like Samsung, all the way down to startups. And we have quite a lot of startups these days that started small with us, got acquired and grew and are now unicorns, but are using Spot from their first dollar in the cloud all the way to being really some of the biggest cloud and most advanced cloud users in the world. You can see some of the logos here, but really global spread and quite a lot of customers. So we're pretty proud about that. And one of the things I like about the value prop of the company is what we do is to help customers automate and do more in the cloud and save money in the cloud. And we are really partners in the cloud journey of our customers. Before I jump further into how we do all these great things, I want to talk about the state of the cloud for a second to kind of position this entire discussion. We're all aware of the economic situation around us. It's probably impacting every last one of us. This is the way the world works today. And I want to address, I'm using the Flexera 2023 State of the Cloud report. If you don't know it, there is a link here that can be shared, and it's available online. It's pretty interesting. What these guys do is they ask a lot of leaders in enterprises around the world different questions about their cloud usage, their cloud strategy, and gather the information here. And it's mainly enterprises, and everyone, the people that are being asked are people that are hands-on the cloud and on IT. So first of all, they've asked them, what's your top initiatives? So looking at 2023, what are you going to address? What do you want to focus on? And optimizing existing cloud use, making sure they don't waste money in the cloud, is the number one priority for almost 60% of the organizations. That is insane. We're seeing it as, instead of laying off headcount, we want to make sure we are focusing and not wasting money in the cloud. And at the same breath, kind of the second answer immediately right after that is we want to do more in the cloud. So we want to migrate more. We're actually seeing that migration projects are not stopping. They're actually accelerating. So from our standpoint, this is where we want to meet you guys. We want to meet the customers of the cloud users because we're seeing acceleration of migration and even bigger acceleration of optimization. These two things come together, and we're here to help with them. And I find it very interesting. Now, to align with that, the top cloud challenges. So the second question is Flexera asked the customers, they asked these enterprises, what are your challenges? So you want to optimize, you want to migrate, you want to do all these great things in the list before. What's challenging for you? Managing cloud spend is first. For over 80% of the organization, how they manage the cloud spend is the biggest headache when it comes to cloud. The second, right after, is cloud security. So these are always the two big things, right? Spend and security. And the last one is also pretty interesting and very relevant for our discussion. Again, almost 80% of the people said that they have lack of resource or expertise. The cloud is evolving so fast. Technology and solutions are evolving so fast. It's really hard to hire, to keep, and to manage the time of these resources to look at cloud spend, to look at security, which are the top challenges. And again, with the right technology, you can make sure that you're spending your resources, spend their time where they're most needed. And I think that we're kind of well situated to help customers with this. The last point I'll show from this presentation, from this Flexera report, is when the customers, when the cloud users actually spend time on optimization, how do you optimize? What do you do by the two big clouds, AWS and Azure? So there are differences in the value props, and EDP, Enterprise Discount Program by AWS, is not exactly an EA, but and Azure RIs are not similar to AWS RIs. There are differences, similarities and differences in each. But we're seeing that RIs on AWS are still very, very big, even bigger than savings plans, surprisingly enough. And a lot of customers still buy EDPs. And on Azure, you're seeing EA as the biggest driver of discount. So customers coming in and closing EAs. And this is because obviously Azure is very, very strong in the enterprise space. Large customers come in with Azure and buy these big enterprise discounts and EAs. And on top of the EA, you can buy reserved capacity, right? So if you look at the first and second lines here, they're not replacing each other. You can actually get an EA and within it leverage the amount of consumption that you've purchased in EA to use it wiser with reserved capacity. And it's one of the things that I'll discuss in this presentation. We're actually helping customers with the underlying, with the entire infrastructure and how they buy these things. So kind of summarizing the opening slides, I think that we as cloud community need to change the state of mind from spending to investing, right? We're not spending money in the cloud, we're investing in growth. And maybe 1 or 2 years ago, 2021, there was a lot of money in the industry. Everyone was spending. They just want to grow fast, and they were throwing a lot of money at the cloud. And today, we're shifting from spending to investing, and that's great. Cloud helps us to innovate faster. It helps us to grow faster, to deploy faster, and develop faster. That's great. But we need to make sure we're investing and not spending, right? So every dollar goes to the right place. So we're focusing on business outcomes, on how the cloud, the money we invest in the cloud helps us grow. And we make sure that we're not paying for resources we don't need. We turn off any underutilized capacity that we may have purchased, and we try to automate and streamline the process as much as possible, because as I said, it's not only the money, it's also the resources and the talent and the skill set that are pretty unique, and we want to make sure that we help them do their work in the best possible way by leveraging automation. And now going a bit deeper into how we do all this, right? Where do we meet you guys? Where do we meet the cloud users? So when we talk about optimization, I think the first answer that we usually hear is, yeah, I optimize on myself, right? Looking at these slides, at this graph that I showed, I think almost every cloud user I met has tried to optimize their environment. As I said, cost is a challenge probably for everyone. So yes, I can do it myself, right? I can buy an EA, I'll buy some reserved capacity, some RIs, it'll be okay. But you know what? Maybe I'll go to the Azure console and I'll search for cost management. If I search for cost management on Azure, you'll get over 4,000 blogs and posts and information. So no human being can be on top of 4,000 and continuously changing, right? And updating cost optimization best practices. It's extremely complex and extremely evolving. And obviously today there's a job called FinOps, of people that this is what they do, and still it's so complicated that no one human can do it. The second problem is that cost optimization is not a point-in-time exercise. And for here, I can show you my daughter's bedroom, which is basically a mess, right? And then we say, okay, let's optimize the room. Let's clean it. Let's make sure it's okay. Tuesday morning, wake up, everything is tidy. The only problem is that after Tuesday comes Wednesday. And this is what a cloud environment looks like, right? It's constantly changing. Optimization is not a point-in-time exercise. You don't just wake up in the morning, click a button, you're optimized, and that's it. I'll talk to you next month. Cloud environments change. They scale up and down. Requirements change. The options the cloud providers change. And basically, it's not a click of a button and everything is optimized. We want to look at continuous optimization, something that constantly looks at your environment, looks at the cloud, and adjusts. And the second thing is that practically impossible for a human being to optimize to 100% or to get to the best optimized state. Even if they're doing their job in the best possible way, they need to sleep at night, they'll take PTO, they might leave, right? They might go to work in another company. So we're talking about an automation that helps the FinOps people to do their job better and spend their time wiser. So that's the theory behind why you need an automation tool. Before I dive into the products, and I'll kind of say, we have a big crowd here, and I'm not sure how technical everyone are. So the presentation is built in a way where we're taking it really from high level to technicalities, and we're more than happy to schedule specific technical deep dives with whoever is interested. But the idea is to really start from high level, and I'm going to describe the three main pricing models of public cloud. So just to make sure we're all on the same page. So basically, the basic pricing model for public cloud is on demand. It scales up and down as you need. It's always there and available. You can always buy another on-demand machine, but it's pretty expensive per unit cost. It's actually more expensive per unit cost than running on-premise, right? Customers migrate to the cloud because they want to run on demand. You move to the cloud because you want to be always scalable, always available, deploy globally, innovate faster, all of this. The problem is it's actually pretty expensive. And when we meet our customers, we see that they build these elaborate Excels before the migration, and the Excels after a few months are not worth anything because it's very, very expensive, more than anyone actually figured. Usually scale more in cloud than you thought you would, and price becomes an issue. So this is on demand. And then there are two solutions. There are commitment plans. On Azure, we're talking today about Arise, and soon enough about savings plans that are already announced by Azure. In AWS also, we have Arise and savings plans. Each behave differently, but basically the same concept. And the concept is this: you commit as a customer, as an Azure customer, for either 1 year or 3 year of certain amount and certain type of consumption, and in exchange for that, you will get a reduced fee. So the problem is that it contradicts the entire idea of moving to the cloud. You move to the cloud to be flexible, to only pay for what you use, but now you're committing to a constant certain amount of consumption. And that's a problem for a lot of customers because it's much less flexible. It's really hard you're going back to CapEx, where you have to calculate how much I'm going to spend, how much it's going to cost. You have to forecast it and commit in advance for a certain amount of money. And then there is another solution, the spot VMs. Spot VMs are a machine like any other machine, okay, just a VM, but it's not used by anyone at this given point in time. Okay, no one is buying this. So the cloud provider, Azure in our case, offers this spot VM at up to 90% discount. It's a machine like any other, but up to 90% discount. The only problem is there is no SLA. So Azure will give you only 30 seconds notice before they'll take away that VM if another customer wants to buy it at on-demand cost. These are the problems. So obviously we cannot run this webinar on a spot VM because if there'll be an interruption, we'll all have to say goodbye to each other before the end of the presentation. These all create a lot of challenges, and practically customers use mainly on demand, a little bit of commitment plans, as we see here, and maybe try some spot VMs here and there. Usually in Azure, we don't really see too much consumption of spot VMs. On AWS, a bit more. Spot VMs, by the way, were called in Azure low priority VMs a few years ago, and they shifted the word to be spot VMs, same as it's called in AWS. So usually when we meet customers, we see massively on-demand usage, some commitments, and maybe a little bit of spots. And with us, we try to move everything that's applicable to spots. We would cover maximal amount of the environment with commitment plans. And on-demand is always an option, right? We will always have the service running for you, which is the main thing. You can always scale up. You can always buy more machines, but we make sure it's automatic and fully optimized at all time, of course, with availability. Going one level deeper. So now we've kind of laid the foundation of the cloud environment and how's Azure growing, how's the cloud growing, and the pricing model. So what's the pricing options that we have? And then one level deeper is the solutions we offer. Basically, Spot by NetApp today has about 10 products. I want to focus on 3 today. Okay, 3 products. The one thing that's in common for all 3 is automating the cloud cost, cloud resources for maximal optimization, maximal flexibility, and availability. Okay, so automation in cloud cost is the main thing. First solution I'm going to talk about is Eco. Eco is all about managing commitment plans, Arise in Azure, invested savings plans in Arise, and the idea is to maximize savings while maximizing flexibility with managing commitment plans. I'm going to deep dive into it in a second. And then Elastic Group. Elastic Group is the original product of the company. It's about almost 8 years old now. And what Elastic Group knows how to do is to run workloads, production workloads, dev environments, whatever you need that are applicable for Elastic Group on Spot instances while forecasting interruptions. So if we talk about Spot instances that can be taken away within 30 seconds notice, Elastic Group will know ahead of time, will spin up a different Spot machine and move the workloads there. So you always have your capacity. A lot of technology in the back of it, I'll describe it in a second. But this is Elastic Group basically creates insane discount by running on Spot VMs with an SLA. And Ocean is our solution for AKS, for Kubernetes or any other container platform that you might be using, DIY containers and microservices. And the idea of Ocean, I'll describe it in a second, but it's all about the automation of the underlying infrastructure, a true serverless experience for container. And we see this journey we're going through with customers from lift and shift to modernization to containerization, and our products fit every step of the way that you might be in your cloud journey. Before I go into the specific products, I'll just say one last thing, that when we look at the cost optimization environment, different products that are out there, most products that you know probably focus on observability, on recommendations, on telling customers what's happening in their cloud and recommending what they should do, right? You should move a region, you should right size, you should buy X amount of Arise. All of this is great. So there are the Cloud Health and Cloud Checker and Apptio and a ton of others. That's great. But this is not what Spot by NetApp, what I'm talking about today, does. What they do is provide observability, visibility, recommendation. These 3 products are all about automation, about getting things to happen while reducing manual workload, while reducing time that it takes from your team. So doing it automatically, of course, safely and with always availability and all of that. Now, because we do it automatically, the pricing of Spot is all about savings. We charge only a percentage of the savings we generate for the customers. There are no savings, no cost. And so it's part of the beauty of the platform. We are incentivized to drive maximal savings for you to help you maximize the way that you save money in the cloud. Now let's start with FinOps, starting with Eco. Okay, with this product here on the left, that is basically any Azure environment can be a good fit for it, but especially if we're looking at our product suite, anything that is monolithic, that is lift and shift, that is static, Eco is a fantastic solution to maximize optimization. Before Eco, or when we meet customers, if I'll meet any of you tomorrow and ask you to describe your cloud environment, and in average, okay, we're seeing different stuff, obviously, but in average, you see customers that are purchasing some Arise, some reserved instances, but it's usually no more than 40% coverage. They're not generating any flexibility within their environment, and it's usually like 1-year commitments at most, because who can commit a large amount of commitment to 3 years? God knows what's going to be in 3 years. There might be another pandemic, right? So this is what we're seeing. Basically, customers are running on demand. Maybe they cover the entire thing with an EA discount. Okay, so on top of that, you can have an EA. That's great. But if you buy Arise, it's on top of the EA. On top of the EA. Now, with Eco, instead of having this picture of about 60% that's running on demand, we would try to cover as much of the environment, up to 95% of the environment, with reservations. We would do that automatically for the customer, right? You don't need to do these complex Excels, trying to figure out what project is going to run for how long, with what type of machine in which region, and what do I need to buy, and what's the risk there. Just calculating that is simply impossible. Eco does all of this automatically for you, right? And covers for you the environment, maximal part of the environment with reservation, while doing two very important things. On top of the maximal coverage, we would create maximal savings. Okay, so we would try to drive the type of reservations that generate highest savings for you, but highest flexibility at the same time. So Azure provide two solutions to create flexibility for customers. One is exchanging. So you can exchange an RI. You can say, I want to cancel one type that I'm not using or a certain project, and in exchange for that cancellation, I want to buy something else. Kind of similar to convertibles in AWS, if you know those. And that's one mechanism. The other mechanism is to cancel. The customer is allowed to cancel up to $50,000 in any 12 months period. In any running 12 months period, you're allowed to cancel up to $50,000 of commitments without buying new commitments. Now, what we're seeing in the market is that customers don't use it. They don't use the exchange. They don't use the cancel feature. Why? Because it's extremely complex. It's a big headache. It's risky. So they'd rather just cover themselves less and maybe exchange here and there, but not as a practice. And this is something that Eco would do for the customers. And the beauty of all of this, it's only metadata. It doesn't manage the workloads themselves. We don't manage the machine. You can always go in and buy more machines. That's not what Eco does. Eco just manages the pricing layer to make sure you're always optimized and always flexible, right? So it has nothing to do with availability, only pricing and saving you money. Which is amazingly simple. To get started with Eco, you connect your account. We would come back and say how much money we can save, and you just give us permission and we start running. It's extremely simple. So that's Eco. It's saving hundreds of millions of dollars for our customers, and a wonderful product. Now, diving a little bit deeper into DevOps. So if Eco is a clear-cut FinOps product that automates the purchasing mission of FinOps, Elastic Group and Ocean, the two other products, focus on DevOps. And here we're talking about the VMs themselves. And what Elastic Group does is, as I said earlier, run workloads on spot VMs while enabling an SLA, while providing that there will always be a machine to run your workloads on. Now, there are two main things that Elastic Group does. One is it's able to predict, to give what we call the spot score to the spot market. Okay, so think about all the regions with all the machine types, and you don't, like as a customer that wants to run a spot VM, you don't know which one is likely to have an interruption or not. So Elastic Group knows this, and we will automatically, you will give us which machines are applicable for you. We will automatically choose the ones that are least likely to have an interruption. We can sometimes run for weeks with no interruptions because we have chosen the wise machine types. That's one. The second thing is, before there is an interruption, if a customer runs on his own, 30 seconds notice, that's not good. Before there is an interruption on Azure, we actually know this, and we can replace the VM. And like you see in this drawing, without Spot, you'll have downtime once there is an interruption, right? You won't have your service running, and there won't be capacity to run your Spot VMs on. With Spot, with Elastic Group, what we do is we would predict the interruption, spin up a different Spot machine, a different Spot capacity, and migrate the workloads to run on the new Spot VM, and it all keeps running, and you always have your capacity running. Now, let's say there is no Spot capacity available, then we will simply fall back to on-demand. And you always, again, have your capacity running. The savings are insane. We're talking 80%, 83, 85% savings. Of course, the workload have to be applicable, right? It's not that would fit for your production has to be always available type of workload. On the other hand, all the workload, and those can run on Eco and should run on Eco. The workloads that are better fit for here are load balancing applications, anything that's running scale sets or application gateway on Azure. We have a wonderful use case for Jenkins runners and a very interesting case for stateful applications mainly on dev machines. We are able, using Elastic Group, when you develop on Azure, when you develop in the cloud, to keep data and IP persistent, and to use the Spot instances to slash down the development cost by insane numbers. Now we can do the scheduling for the running hours of the developers, which usually don't develop at 2 a.m. So you can kind of spin up their machines in the morning, turn them down in the evening, everything automatically. It's all stateful nodes that will be running on Spot VMs. And if there is an interruption once in every few weeks for one developer, we will forecast it, we will replace their machine, and we will keep the data and IP persistent for them. This is extremely valuable for dev environments of a lot of our customers. As I said, Elastic Group is not just for dev environments. We can run production workloads, mainly scaling web applications, but this specific use case I feel is very, very interesting because it can run stateful dev environments on Spot VMs. Last product I want to touch today is Ocean. And Ocean is maybe the best of breed of what I just discussed. And it's all about a serverless experience for containers, for AKS specifically, what we're talking today. So let's talk about some challenges when it comes to containers. And again, I don't know the crowd, how mature are you in your containerization journey, but we're seeing insane adoption of Kubernetes. And also on Azure, and I'm seeing banks that have migrated from on-premise to Azure and are now containerizing their environment initially, not even in microservices, just like stateful containers. And we're seeing it growing insanely. This creates a challenge with VM scaling, with cost throwback, understanding what's the cost of each container, and who's this cost allocated to, the right sizing, all the automation within the AKS world is really, really challenging, where you need to, on one side, meet the resource demands of the application, and on the other, reduce the spend by making sure you're not wasting and understanding what's going on in your cluster. Now, it's not just about understanding, it's about automating. So you don't have to manually manage what's going on within your clusters, within your Kubernetes. So what does a serverless experience mean? It means that you don't have to hands-on manage the underlying infrastructure. You don't have to choose what machine each container, each pod runs on. You scale in real time. You forecast scale. You have understanding into what's going on within your billing. You're able to scale down to 0 if you need automatically and do it fast, so you don't waste money. You scale up when you need it, and you scale up fast, and you scale down to 0 when you don't need it. So you don't waste money, but you're always available. All of these are huge challenges, usually done by a lot of DIY patches and solutions, and we have Ocean here to help you. And I almost didn't discuss cost savings, right? Because the big value of Ocean, on top of cost savings, is the scaling, is the automation, is saving time for your DevOps team. So let's start from the bottom layer. Ocean provides a serverless experience. So your Kubernetes, your AKS, will be running the containers, will be running Kubernetes on either Spot VMs using the solution I described, using Elastic Group as the underlying engine, right? So you can run your containers on Spot VMs. You can run them on demand. You want to say, listen, this container, I don't want any interruptions there, and I can run it on demand. That's perfectly fine. We have a lot of customers doing that. Or you can run it on reserved capacity, on reserved instances, using Eco as the underlying engine. But the beauty is that you define which you want, right? You want the Spot, you want on demand, you want reserved, and that's it. Ocean will automatically manage what type of infrastructure your containers run on. And once you enable this feature, we will never buy a new machine for your containers before we have leveraged all the reserve capacity that you've purchased, right? If let's say you've already purchased Arise, we will know that you haven't utilized them at full, and we will utilize those before we buy new machines. So it's all pretty smart and runs automatically and creates this serverless experience where you don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure. The second level is the container-driven autoscale. And here we're talking about scaling up and down your containers automatically. We would deploy them to this Tetris game, what we call the bean packing algorithm, to make sure that you deploy them on the machine sizes they actually need, not too big, not too small. We actually reduce the size of your clusters by about 40% by doing smarter bean packing automatically. Think about the DevOps team that has to do it hands-on. It's A, time consuming, and B, impossible to do it in the best possible way. Ocean does this automatically. We look at your entire cluster and make sure it's bean packed and kind of shrink it to the most optimized way. Of course, ready to scale it up and down whenever it's needed, all automatically. On top of that, you get a lot of visibility into what's going on, tagging, chargeback. You can see exactly each instance what's going on with it. And then that's the right sizing and observability. We would give back recommendation if we think there are certain containers that have too much requirements for CPU, for memory, for network, whatever. We would recommend to reduce the requirements so we can actually optimize even further, right? All of this is only charged as a percentage of additional savings that Ocean gives you. But Ocean drives a lot of automation. If you ask an Ocean customer why they bought the product, they'll say, oh, the automation is insane. It's just saving me a lot of time, but a lot of money. But 1 year in, they're talking about the time it saved them, about how the automation helped them just do their job better. And that's the beauty of it. The way Ocean works is basically Ocean connects to the data plane and integrates with any control plane system that you may be using. Obviously AKS, which is what we're talking about today, but available on any container platform that you may be using, on AWS, on Google, or on Azure, or DIY. And we would basically deploy a pod in your data plane that will do the scaling and do all the magic that Ocean does. It's very, very thin and lean, so very easy to deploy solution. Everything is available in Terraform and kind of connects into your CI/CD processes that come today. We don't want you to change architecture. You don't need to change architecture to change the way you work. So really, really easy to deploy and to manage. The idea is to reduce your headache, right? To automate, to make your life easier. Going back to this slide, because I described the 3 products, and now I want to circle back and see how it meets everyone in their cloud journey, right? So Eco, very easy to start, 0 risk, right? It doesn't manage the workloads themselves, but creates these cost savings that are maximal while creating flexibility with commitment plans. If you're on Azure and you have significant spend that you know you're going to stay in Azure for a while, Eco is a must-have. Simply saves you money, charges a percentage of the additional savings, better than what any human can do. That's Eco. Very, very simple. Elastic Group, if you're developing in the cloud, if you're developing in Azure, Elastic Group is an amazing solution for stateful dev environments, but also for scaling applications, web applications, scale sets, application gateway, load balancers. These are great use cases for Elastic Group. And Ocean, any AKS user doesn't have a solution like this, and they must have. It's a great completion for AKS and creates a lot of value around savings, but a lot of value around automation as well. Just the added value around containerization around your AKS journey. And we are keen on working with you on this. I start my presentation by talking a lot about customers. I just want to give you this print screen. This is a customer that when we met them said, no, we're optimized. We have a FinOps team. We're doing this. We also have a partner that's helping us optimize, and they did some work. We're doing a good job. And then they connected to Spot, and we started to scale up the optimization month after month. You can see the dramatic impact. The second thing I wanna say is that you see that it's still growing. I didn't take the last months, but it keeps growing. We keep generating more savings, finding better things we can do for you. And of course, usually customers grow in the cloud, so we grow with you and generate more savings for you. And that's what we like to do. We like to generate more value as time goes by. So now what? reach out to the Trek to Summit team. You can reach out to me directly, to your NetApp account manager. You can go directly to the Spot by NetApp website, open a free Spot by NetApp account, and connect a POC. All our POCs are free. You can actually run up to 20 VMs without talking to anyone, using our online documentation for free. But the way we do things is very high touch. We want to be there with you, right? So we want to guide you. We have solution architects that will help you to connect stuff and to answer any question and to run these POCs, again, for free. We have a 24/7 tech support team. So if you go to our website, on the right side of the screen, you'll see this chat. It's not a chat bot, it's a chat human, right? There is someone 24/7, highly capable, that answers your questions and answers them live in real time, under 30 seconds SLA for answering. We have a 24/7 NOC team that will find any problem before the cloud provider even knows that they have downtime in Virginia. We will know about it and let you know, so you can prepare and you can decide what you want to do. So our support of you guys during the POC or during production is very, very important. So what next? Do reach out. Let's have a discussion. Let's open an account, do a POC, show you real value. And we really believe in our products and in generating value for our customers. And as I said, the pricing is only a percentage of the savings generated. So it's only added value. It's ROI positive by definition. And if there is no savings, it's all free of charge. That's been my presentation. If there are any questions, do feel free to share them in the chat, and I can answer now or take them offline. And thank you again for your time. Any questions? So I'm seeing some questions here. I'll answer. What's the source of the statistics? Flexera report. You can Google it easily. It's free online. Shutdown time and machine performance. So in our console, you can see when we will connect and discuss the usage itself. You can actually, I'll give you a demo of the product. You can actually see all the data is there, and you can get a lot of observability as an added value into what's going on in your environment. Interesting question. What was the biggest cloud challenge you've had? I think that the biggest challenge I'm seeing today is that we want to do more, and customers want to do more in the cloud. They're tasked with doing more, but this doesn't come together with spending more, right? So they have a challenge with budget and with headcount, with getting the right people and more talented people to help them manage their cloud. On the other hand, they have to scale up. Now, all of this doesn't always relate to business outcomes. And I think that one of the big things is to show that this money you've saved, you're able to do more with it. You're able to leverage more in your cloud and actually spend it wiser. You're not wasting money. You're investing money in growing in the cloud and innovating faster. I think that's kind of the challenge we're hearing. Customers want to do more, but don't necessarily have the budget to do everything they plan. Any other questions? We have customers running with us for 6 years, 7 years, like since the beginning, scaling with us very massively. We help them with forecasting, understanding, and managing their cloud cost, literally saving them a lot of millions of dollars. So we're very good friends with our customers and helping them more. Someone's telling the story of a learning case that they had with leaving some VMs open and running, and it cost them $130K. So yes, we see that, and it's part of the benefit of the platform that will simply automatically scale down anything that you're not actually using. and you can use it to do the scheduling. So it's really beneficial. Harness Cloud, I have to admit that I haven't met Harness Cloud before. Usually, the big difference between the different players when it comes to cost optimization, if you Google cost optimization, you'll find thousands of solutions. Spot by NetApp is the number one leader, and in Azure, almost the number one player, like almost the single player existing that offers automation. It's not just about visibility. It's not just about giving you a dashboard with recommendations. It's about actually saving you money. Most solutions out there would charge you a percentage of the money you spend, meaning you spend $1 million, they will charge 1% or 2% out of that. So you actually spend more using them. With Spot, we save you money and we charge a percentage of the savings. Right? We're focused on automation and on charging just a percentage of the value we actually generate, or the savings we generate. And actually, we acquired CloudCheckr, one of the big companies when it comes to cost optimization visibility, because it completes our value prop. So I didn't mention CloudCheckr today, but CloudCheckr gives you recommendations and visibility. Spot by NetApp does the automation piece. So we start when these solutions stop, right? We would automate the recommendations that they give. So it's not the same thing as having a dashboard of visibility. Another question. Famous cloud. So first of all, I mean, the founders of Spot are now, the leaders when it comes to DevOps and to cost optimization. Kind of invented this even before FinOps was a thing. NetApp is obviously a very big NASDAQ company with a lot of resources, and we are one of the top partners for AWS and for Azure in the world. Again, I described only 3 products today, but we're one of the only companies, I think even the only company that has a white labeled first-party service with AWS. It's called FSx. With Azure, it's called ANF, and on GCP, right? You can buy the NetApp solutions as if it's white labeled, not the Spot by NetApp. So the 3 products I described today are still branded as Spot by NetApp as its own thing. But NetApp, our parent company, right, our mothership, is one of the biggest partners for the hyperscalers in the world, and we're very proud of it. We're part of that company. So I think trustworthy is maybe the number one thing we can say about where we're at. We're really leaders in that domain. Very big partnerships with all the hyperscalers. Thank you very much. Cool. So guys, thank you very much for joining, for taking time, asking questions. Feel free to reach out. I'm here. Trek to Summit team is here, and looking forward to help you do more in the cloud with the budget you have. So let's innovate. Thank you.